You are a good horse, aren't you?
Look out!
Heading home soon?
He was just a poor cowboy, barely scraping by, struggling to get by day after day. Then one morning, a gift arrived, a horse so massive it seemed almost unreal. People in the town laughed at him. "What will a skinny cowboy do with that giant beast?" they mocked. But the cowboy didn't flinch. He didn't run. He climbed onto the enormous horse, and what happened next? No one saw coming. The giant hooves thundered across the fields, dust flying, and suddenly, the laughter turned to awe. Every single person who had doubted him froze, staring at something far bigger than a horse. It was courage, skill, and sheer determination in motion. And that was only the beginning. The morning sun stretched across the dusty frontier town, casting long shadows over the weathered buildings. Daniel Hayes wiped sweat from his brow, the scent of leather and hay filling the air. Life had always been a struggle for him. His clothes were patched, his boots worn, and his old horse barely had the strength to carry him across the endless fields. He was fixing a broken fence when a stranger rode into town, a well-dressed man on a polished horse, carrying a large envelope. Whispers rippled through the crowd as people stepped out of their homes, curious about the unusual visitor. "I'm looking for Daniel Hayes," the man called, dismounting gracefully. "I have something for you." Daniel approached cautiously. The man turned, and behind him, a horse stepped into view, towering, muscular, and gleaming like the sun had poured its light into its coat. The size alone was intimidating. Even seasoned riders would hesitate. The townspeople couldn't help themselves. Laughter echoed through the streets. "Is that for him?" A woman snickered. "He'll never ride that beast." Daniel's heart sank slightly at the mockery, but he straightened his back. This wasn't just any horse, it was an opportunity. A chance to prove himself in a town that had long ignored him. The giant horse lowered its massive head and nickered softly. Its intelligent eyes studied Daniel, as if sizing him up. In that moment, he felt a spark of determination he hadn't felt in years. The crowd continued to murmur and point, but Daniel stepped forward. He ran his hand along the horse's neck, feeling the strength beneath the sleek coat. "We'll show them," he whispered. The town may have seen a joke, a poor cowboy with an impossible animal. But Daniel saw something else: potential, trust, and a chance to rewrite the story the town had already written about him. As he prepared to mount the enormous horse for the first time, a quiet focus settled over him. This wasn't just about riding, it was about courage, heart, and a willingness to step into the unknown. And somewhere deep inside, Daniel knew one thing: the laughter wouldn't last long. Because what happened next would shock everyone. As the sun climbed higher, Daniel led the giant horse out into an open field just beyond the town. The townsfolk followed at a distance, whispers and snickers trailing behind them. They expected a disaster, a spectacle of failure, but Daniel wasn't there to entertain. He studied the horse carefully. Every muscle rippled under its shiny coat, and its eyes, deep and intelligent, seemed to measure him. This wasn't a wild, uncontrollable beast, it was powerful, aware, and patient. Taking a deep breath, Daniel swung himself into the saddle. The sheer height of the horse made his stomach flutter, but he gripped the reins tightly. Dust rose under the enormous hooves as the horse shifted its weight, testing its rider. At first, they moved slowly. Step by step, Daniel felt the rhythm, learning the horse's strength and grace. The townspeople watched, mouths slightly agape. The laughter had quieted, uncertainty replacing mockery. Then Daniel urged the horse forward. It responded immediately, moving with a surprising speed and agility. Dust kicked up around them, and the ground seemed to tremble under the hooves. He leaned with emotion, adjusting his balance, feeling the incredible connection forming between man and beast. A loose rock tumbled in their path, threatening to unseat him, but the horse leapt effortlessly, landing with perfect stability. Gasps spread through the crowd. Daniel's heart raced, not with fear, but exhilaration. Every movement felt alive, every step a small victory. By the time he guided the horse back toward the edge of town, the silence was palpable. The laughter that had once echoed across the streets was gone, replaced by awe. Children pressed their faces against the fences, wide-eyed. Adults whispered to one another, finally seeing what Daniel had always known. This horse wasn't a joke, it was extraordinary, and so was he. Daniel dismounted, patting the horse's massive neck. The animal nuzzled him gently, a soft nicker confirming the bond they now shared. In that moment, Daniel understood something powerful. Ridicule could only reach so far. Courage, patience, and trust could reach much further. He looked out at the crowd. Their expressions had changed. Some were shocked, some amazed, and others, quietly admiring. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt the spark of pride. Not just for himself, but for the horse, his unexpected partner, his chance to prove the impossible was possible. And deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. Word of Daniel and his giant horse spread quickly. By the next morning, the town square was buzzing with curiosity and skepticism. People whispered about the cowboy who had tamed a beast bigger than any horse they had ever seen. Even the mayor, a stern man with little patience for theatrics, decided to see if Daniel's horse was truly remarkable. "Daniel Hayes," the mayor called, voice booming across the square, "if you're as skilled as they say, you'll ride through the old canyon trail. Narrow paths, steep cliffs, and rocky ground, many riders have tried and failed. Let's see what you've got." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. The canyon was infamous, a test of courage that had claimed even experienced riders. But when he looked at the giant horse, he felt a surge of confidence. This animal wasn't just huge, it was intelligent, strong, and willing to trust him. He led the horse to the trailhead. The crowd hushed, forming a human corridor to watch every step. Daniel climbed into the saddle, gripping the reins tightly, feeling the massive horse beneath him flex and shift. He whispered a few calming words, and the horse's ears flicked forward, ready. Step by step, they began the descent. The canyon walls loomed overhead, shadows dancing across the rocky ground. One false move, and disaster would strike. Daniel's hands were steady, his focus absolute. He adjusted his weight with each stride, silently trusting the horse's instincts. Halfway down, a loose boulder slid toward them. Daniel's stomach lurched, but the horse leapt effortlessly, clearing it with room to spare. Gasps erupted from the crowd. The horse's hooves pounded the trail rhythmically, each step precise and confident. The deeper they went, the more the townspeople leaned forward, eyes wide. Daniel felt adrenaline coursing through him, not fear, but exhilaration. Every movement between him and the horse was a conversation, a silent understanding of balance, trust, and courage. Finally, they emerged from the canyon. The town held its breath as Daniel guided the horse back to level ground. When they stopped, silence fell first, then erupted into applause and cheers. The once mocking townsfolk were now staring in awe. Daniel dismounted, heart pounding, sweat glistening on his brow. The horse lowered its head, nuzzling him gently, acknowledging the bond they had forged. In that moment, Daniel realized something profound. The ridicule, the whispers, and the doubt didn't matter. Courage, trust, and perseverance could turn impossible challenges into triumphs. The town had witnessed not just a feat of horsemanship, but the beginning of a legend. After conquering the canyon trail, Daniel and his giant horse became the talk of the town. The same people who had laughed at him now looked at him with awe and respect. Children followed him wherever he went, wide-eyed, eager to witness the cowboy and his incredible steed in action. Farmers and ranchers approached him for advice, amazed at the control and trust he shared with the horse. Daniel himself felt a shift. He was no longer just a poor cowboy scraping by, he had a partner who matched his courage and determination. Every day, they worked side by side, carrying supplies, checking fences, and even helping with tricky herding tasks that previously seemed impossible. The horse's enormous strength and intelligence allowed Daniel to do things he had never imagined. More importantly, Daniel realized what the gift of the horse had truly given him: confidence, purpose, and the chance to prove himself. The town's laughter faded into admiration, replaced by whispers of respect. Neighbors who had doubted him began to see that courage and patience could turn ridicule into triumph. But Daniel also noticed something deeper. The horse, massive and intimidating, seemed to understand him in ways words could never explain. Every glance, every nudge, every stomp of its powerful hooves became a conversation. Together, they moved as one, anticipating challenges, reacting instinctively, and learning from each other. For Daniel, this was more than just horsemanship, it was transformation. The town no longer saw a struggling cowboy. They saw someone who had earned respect through bravery, skill, and heart. And the horse, once a source of mockery, had become a symbol of determination and partnership. In the quiet evenings, Daniel would sit beside the horse, watching the sunset, realizing that life could change in unexpected ways if you dared to trust, to act with courage, and to embrace the impossible. Word of Daniel and his giant horse spread far beyond the town. What was once mockery became legend. Children told tales of the cowboy who dared, and neighbors spoke in awe of the partnership between man and beast. One evening, Daniel rode through the square, the massive horse moving gracefully beneath him. The crowd cheered not for the size of the horse, but for the courage, patience, and heart of the cowboy who refused to be defined by others' laughter. As the sun set, Daniel whispered to his horse, "We turned doubt into respect." The horse nickered softly, and together they vanished into the horizon, leaving a story that would be remembered forever. Who knew a giant horse could change a life so completely? Daniel's courage and trust turned ridicule into respect and proved that sometimes the biggest challenges bring the greatest rewards. If this story inspired you, smash that like button and show some love. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss more amazing stories of courage, adventure, and heart. Tell us in the comments, what would you do if faced with an impossible challenge like Daniel? Share this story with friends and family because every